Alright, so I'm going to do a quick comparison here between two different pieces of software. One's really old, one's new. I have a couple of capabilities in the really old software that I want to highlight the value of and why I'm kind of confused. No one's done this in modern software. So let's just jump right into it here. It's all to do with what I like to do is like doodling and like freehand drawing and stuff like that. The old software, and the reason why this is a problem for me is it only supports WinTab API, not Windows Ink, Microsoft Ink, but all your modern stuff is now all using Microsoft Ink. I don't think that's the reason why this capability doesn't exist. Um, but yeah, you'll see what I mean in a sec. So this here vector brush tool, it's, it goes by a lot of different names in Illustrator and CorelDRAW. This one here is Affinity Designer. I've chosen this because this is by Serif, the same company that makes this piece of software that I do actually prefer to use as well. So it's just interesting that even the company who makes the software that I actually use still from 10 years ago, um, their software, modern stuff doesn't even do it. So let's get into it. Typically, you might find yourself in a position where you want to draw like some sort of like a creation. Let's say you want to draw like a little flower or something like that. So you'll draw a little middle part. I'm not the world's best drawer, but like I said before, I just enjoy doing it. And we'll draw like a little fabric there. We'll draw like a stem part that comes off of it. It goes. And we'll just sort of give it there we go. And maybe we'll give it like a couple of little leaves as well. One more. Cool. And this is it is 100% doing like pressure sensitivity and all that sort of stuff there as well to show that it's pretty mild, but it gets it, like you can see it's happening. Here's the thing, when we look at what we've just created here on the surface layer, it looks like a shit drawing, but it looks like it's a drawing no less. But actually it's not a shape. Like this isn't like a thing you couldn't like put this through like a vinyl cutter and get an outcome, right? Because it's all just outline strokes. It's a vector path with that happening right now. This isn't just like curves. So what are we gonna do? What everyone does in modern software, you expand the stroke so it encapsulates the outline strokes themselves, and then again you can see all of those are still carving into each other and chopping through each other everywhere. Not a big deal, we just merge them together. There we have it. When we look at it now, we're looking at a single shape. You could theoretically vinyl cut it. I don't know how pretty that'd be, probably not, but it can be done. So I'm just gonna pause there. I'm gonna do one more thing with it. Let's do a quick little tweak. So let's say here on the top of it, I had to select the layer for it, and I'm going to switch into our pixel persona mode, because that's the only way you can erase in this tool. And let's say I want to get rid of some of that imperfection, so we can draw our erasing here. There we go. Carve that out there. Let's just say this has a nice little around that. And let's just, we weren't really happy with how thick that went there, so we're just gonna bring that back in there. And everything seems to be going pretty good until you may decide for yourself, you know what? I'm happy with those adjustments. I would like to 3D print this. That's where everything goes a little pear-shaped, because not 3D print, I want to vinyl cut it. Again, you couldn't do that as you can see, it's used masks. So it's applied a mask on top of the layer itself. Um, and that mask has got nothing to do with it, right? Now, they call this non-destructive editing. That's cool. But what if you wanted it to be destructive? You know what I mean? So now you've got to try and find a way to actually get that in there somehow, affect your layer, and on the workflow goes. Skipping across really quickly, let's do the exact same sort of workflow in their old school tool, Serif Draw Plus X8. We're going to choose their free form painting tool. We're going to set sensible size brush and make sure we're going to color we want. Let's have a go at this. So again, we'll draw like a little center bit for it. Draw some petals around it. And we'll just add a bit more there to help build up that. And then we'll draw a stem out from there, just like we did before. And then we'll draw a couple of leaves coming off of it. A couple little pieces. Okay, done. Now the first thing that will jump out to you here, and you may or may not have caught it, is this whole thing is already vector curves. There is no outline strokes. I could have put an outline on it, but there's no reason to, because why would you if you don't need to? So that's done. Now, like before, there's different ways you can go about it, but you can make it all one object. And let's say, for example, we wanted to raise. I haven't had to go anywhere else to do it. I want to clean up some of the stuff going on here. I wasn't really too impressed with what was happening up in here, let's say. So let's go to maybe some fine-tuned work. We're going to go in there, we're going to raise that. Maybe I was a little overzealous there, it doesn't matter. Immediately, what you may have detected has happened here is the actual fact that we've just restructured the entire vector shape itself. Those lines from before have just been rewritten. And so we can do all those edits and tweaks just like you would before. But it's all done in vector immediately as curves, not something else. So that's kind of powerful, as you can imagine. And you know, there's lots of different shape options here for this sort of stuff. It doesn't really matter. The point is that you could, if you weren't happy with what's been happening here, you can obviously go back into your tool, choose your razor, and tweak it. So we might say, I wasn't really happy with that part there, or I wanted that to sort of go around a bit more, carve it out some other way, put a really subtle edge around like that or something. Doesn't matter. Whatever you do, it's all vector. Cool. So that's pretty crazy. But that just happens like that. Now you might have said, oh geez, I didn't mean to cut the whole thing off. So this is where it's like, what else can you do? So you select it again, you can go back into your freehand and just throw it together. And sure enough, that is done. You can go through and clean up if you're so inclined, as well. And yeah, still 100% cuttable. Now, if you were like, oh, but I want to do that non-destructive editing stuff, there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can do masks, or you can do like a really quick method here and just simply go in on a separate layer and of course draw out, you know, where you wouldn't want stuff to be. And yeah, you don't actually have to even be on a separate layer. I'll show you that as well. Let's just get rid of that one. We're on the same layer here. We've deselected the original object. We get into our freehand tool. We're gonna just draw over the top of that bit there, and that bit. And we probably wanted that to look more like that. Done. And then if you really like what's been done there, you can obviously select those, select the base, and I believe if you do a subtract on them, it'll just drop it in. And yeah, you've got yourself your destructive or non-destructive workflow. So you're probably wondering at this point, what the hell? Why doesn't any of the most modern software do this? And you'd be fair to ask that question. I don't really know. I think the way the technology itself works, if you see, it's sort of got this like transparent layer here and it looks a little jaggedy at first. And I believe that's because what it's actually doing is it's doing a dynamic vector auto trace. That's what I think is happening there. Yep. And so, you know, it's pretty useful, pretty nifty. Do anything you would have done with any other piece of vector software easy, just like that, as well. So it would have been really cool if this capability existed in modern software that supports the more modern technologies. Now, the last thing I really want to get into here and show you is what happens when you try to do something more complex. So we're going to do squiggles. Get like a little ball, and then I'm going to do a line out and a line back and then down and squiggles. And a line out and a line back. Now watch the latency. We're at 2 squiggles in, line out, line back. See, it's getting a bit choppy. This computer that I'm running right now is got an i9 14th gen CPU. It's also running 64 gigabytes of RAM, and it's got a really decent graphics card. So no, this is not the fact that I'm running on a toaster. This is just the fact that all graphic software that uses this technique to accomplish freehand drawing looking sketch work becomes virtually unusable after a certain point. Like, it's not even trying to keep up anymore. Stuff's just popping into existence. So this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We did none of those things. Fair is fair. Let's do the same test back to back here on the other software. Start it here. Wiggle around, give it a lot of squiggles here. You can see I'm going crazy with it. Line out, line back. Next one. 2, 3. Now at this point here, we already had seen some degradation in performance before. 4, 5. 6. This is still working butter smooth. 7, 8. It doesn't really matter. It could have gone on for eternity. All that matters. Because at the end of the day, like I was saying before, I'm pretty sure is doing like a trace. It does a very accurate trace, as you can see, but it's still a trace to get the job done. Now, the fact that I can do that on an old piece of software and there's nothing like this out there that I'm aware of from modern software is problematic, right? Like, how is it possible that in 10 years no one's going, hey, you know what? You remember that Flash product? It used to do this. And you remember that Serif Draw Plus thing that we used to build ourselves? It does that. Maybe we should recreate that capability in a modern piece of software. So if anyone's out there that knows of a modern piece of software that does this on Windows desktop, please let me know. I've got some applications on my mobile that kind of do it, but it's really not the same thing. Like sketching on your phone, like a note phone, is not the same as sketching on a fully fledged graphics tablet desktop experience. Yeah, look, that's pretty much the whole thing. I just wanted to flag it, call it out, see if anyone knows anything about it, see if anyone see anything like this, and just for anyone who's wondering why you would still be using old past pieces of software like this, it's because of how capable it is still.